Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you again for being awesome, amazing people in my life, and more important, patient with my lack of content here recently. It'll probably be a little light this week just based on the simple fact that I'm still recovering from medication from a parasite. It is terrible, by the way, as well as see here, I have a head cold too, so it's just awesome. Insult to injury, as they say. What we're going to do here, though, is we're going to take a look at the liquidation. There's a descending trend we need to be aware of. Rising wedge pattern 2, which is also bearish. So we just got to be mindful that we're not in a great place right now, and it's important to not get too crazy with long positions just because it's a dip. Okay, so taking a look here, we can see local liquidation, a lot of heavy concentrations in between $3 and $2.90, and then $2.80 and $2.70. Easy numbers to remember: $2.70, $2.80, $2.90, and $3. Basically, every 10 cents we can see. These are just areas that people have their liquidation events that could occur, as well as stop losses, right? So it's kind of just a combination there. That's where people feel confident in putting their stop losses or losing out on their trade. All that said, $2.90 to $3 is that macro concentration. There's still a lot left there. Each one of these red bars is 2 billion, so my approximate would be about 10 billion in liquidation between here and 290. Okay, now it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just implies the likelihood of further downside is higher based on the fact that liquidation delta is still bearish too. Okay, Bitcoin, pretty much every altcoin in the market is exuding the same behavior. So it's generally just best practice to avoid trading against that until that changes, right? Until we see that shift or we break our lower high pattern. There's no reason to take a long position just yet. I know it's a compulsion for a lot of people to do so because they just love this coin or whatever coin, but emotions belong elsewhere, not in trading, okay? So all that being said here, locally, 345 is the number to remember. That's our local bottom and our current top. In other words, if we do end up rallying to 340, 345, that would be a perfect or excellent area to consider a short position. Just, again, outside looking in, we haven't looked at the charts yet. That's usually where I like to kind of consider setting up my trades, is in heavy concentrations of open interest, because that implies there's going to be a lot of exit liquidity at that level. Okay, so let's take a look here at the daily time frame, work our way down. And just kind of, let's go ahead and get some macro fibs pulled up here. So you can kind of see what that may look like here. So macro fibs kind of just tell us here roughly that, $3 and $2.70 are the two areas of support on these common areas of retracement. Okay, that's a simple way to understand it. But we're underneath the 50 and the 50, 200, and the 20-day SMA. Those are all kind of converging to give us one massive resistance at about, once more, 345. So we're seeing that consistent number there. We can also recognize here too, we're below 50 on the RSI, under our moving average. Money flow index is low. Stochastic swinging up, yeah, whoop-de-doo. Some people put too much emphasis on that, but that means very little in the face of a bearish divergence. Now take a look here at the 4-hour. This is something we want to recognize here. First of all, descending trend. Big old glaringly obvious reason not to take a long position, at least until we get back up above it. Furthermore, we also have I'll show you on the hourly what that looks like, but generally speaking, that's kind of, we're seeing a few divergences here. First of all, we want to recognize too, we're under all moving averages here. There's no reason to take a long position, as well as being under 50 on the RSI. While money flow index is high, this is a very flawed statistic. People seem to misinterpret this a lot because once more it looks back 14 candles. And what are the last 14 candles for us? A weekend for the most part, right? Minus the last 2 or 3. All that being said, money flow index being high on Monday is a very false positive for a lot of people. They seem to think that that's a good sign. It's a bad sign because obviously our MFI is going to be up now because it's averaging out the last 14 candles worth of low volume. That's not to be trusted, right? You don't trust low volume. So all that said, that's not really a good sign. Hourly time frame, Ichimoku cloud, we're kind of averaging ourselves out into a range, which doesn't give us a lot of indication on if we go up or down. What generally does though, and this is what we're seeing a lot of charts kind of printing this type of pattern. Well, more so bearish rectangles, but they are bearish nonetheless. We have somewhat of a rising wedge pattern here, or even just say a bearish flag. First of all, but Bitcoin is exuding the same behavior right now, okay? Bearish flag on Bitcoin, SUI is looking very similar. It really depends on how you draw this out, but for the most part, this is generally construed as a bearish sign where the price action works itself into a channel and inevitably breaks out. Oftentimes it breaks down rather, once it hits its point of control, which we're testing right now. So we can close about 328 today. we may have a chance or a leg to stand on. That is all on the premise that Bitcoin doesn't continue any lower, right? Are those the odds you want to try to trade against? Do you like taking higher risk trades or low probability of success? It's just not a good point to take a long right now. I'm not implying you should short per se either, but it is statistically a stronger likelihood that you're going to find more success going down than up. That's just the market we're in right now, folks. It's nothing crazy, nothing outrageous. This is completely normal. But at this point, I would speculate that we're going to see a bit further downside before we find our bottom. Once more, our bottom is probably close to that $3 to $2.70 range as discussed earlier. And that's kind of my thoughts here. What are yours? Why don't you comment below? Love to hear it. Thanks so much again for being an awesome part of my life. Join us over at Bitunix too, folks. We got a few more days left here, upwards of June 18th to qualify for Tesla, etc. a lot of cool stuff up for grabs with Bitunix. Check them out. I also have a Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you're not familiar, where I provide shorts and a lot of good relevant information. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Take care out there.